Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fire Force chapters 282 and 283. When we last left our heroes, God, a lot was fucking happening. We had, the chapter was, weirdly enough, largely focused on Yoshida, the scientist who licked knew from Hajime. It was one of the background characters kind of railing at Tamaki. And her son Tatsuto, who gained this, authorial omniscience to, smack talk his mom for being anti-fan service. It was really weird. It didn't quite work. We got some interesting sort of diving into the concepts of the establishment and the background, in that Tatsuto is only has this kind of sentience that he does because Obi called him by name. So there's some interesting stuff there, but it all kind of is set up in this really annoying, the pride of horniness, which is just not really clicking for me. So we're kind of where we left off. Tamaki, though, is ready to really start the fight in earnest, do some plan to win. Yoshida disappears, so that happened. But yeah, I will say before I dive in, though, I normally check the Reddit to see if the new chapters are out. And before I noticed that there were 2 new chapters out, I kind of saw a post talking about this fight, and I accidentally clicked on it, not realizing that the new chapters were out. And so I got a little bit of spoilers for 282. I've seen some panels and one person's kind of counter-argument to the original post. So I'm not quite going in blind, though I imagine that will only impact 282, as going by the chapter title, 283, Shadow of the Trump card, I'm guessing is going to move us into Joker, as he's probably going to be fighting the Burns doppelganger. Either way, we don't know. Or I don't know yet. Our picture here is of a bear, like Winnie the Poohing. Free Baron. Throw away your shame and your underwear. Show off your own lewdness. Chapter 282, Lewd is sacred. First thing, please do not take off your underwear in public, people. You will go to jail, and rightfully so. But yeah, let's dive on. We have our scan later page, our please buy the official manga page. And we open kind of where we left off with the 2 assaults just going at each other. The power of Lewd brings the future. Show off the hope inside the battle. The doppelganger yells, Lewd is worthless. The real assault, Lewd is essential. The doppelganger kind of counters, you're just a man who lost to sex, and now you're inventing excuses for it. And he does some kind of attack at Assault. Assault's kind of blown back. And then the real Assault looks at him. It's true that once I thought that I had lost to sex. But I noticed that at the same time, I had gained an enormous vigor. And Tommy sort of looks at him a little embarrassed, or a little kind of what are you going on about, man? Before, all I could do was kill people. But lewdness has given me hope for the future. This whole fight is just so ridiculous, it borders on parody, but I'm not quite sure Okubo intends any of this to be parodic. Even Tamaki kind of looks at him that much? The real Assault then slaps his doppelganger with the missile. I will defeat you, my doppelganger, and I'll protect all the letters in the world. And he comes around for another attack, but the doppelganger strikes back. I won't let you run rampant. And the real Assault counters, I'll never lose to anything other than sex. And Tamaki sort of watches him. Assault. And everyone, including Tatsuto, just sort of watches the fight. Even the background characters are kind of shut up now. And Victor sort of monologues, the great cataclysm uses the despair of people to destroy the world. But lewdness is something that connects living creatures to the future, meaning it's one kind of hope that can stop the cataclysm. I mean, I guess. I fucking guess. I guess that fucking works. I don't know. Assault brings in his next attack, Crimson Stiffy Bullets, to shoot at Assault, the doppelganger. The doppelganger kind of blocks it, and the real Assault yells, a world without lewdness has no future. Am I wrong? I mean, I guess you're not. There's an argument to be made there. My problem is I don't quite think people's issues with Tamaki is just that lewdness should not exist. It's just that her lucky lecher syndrome is just awkwardly inserted, and normally, especially in the beginning of the series, at the worst possible times. I don't know. And then we see the background characters, I think, are kind of starting to be swayed. life, pulse, vigor, cheerfulness, lewd. And we see Maki has kind of come to consciousness, and she sort of sits up. What's the situation? And then she looks up and is shocked. And we see everyone just strips and starts dancing in their underwear. Everyone. Confusing the doppelganger. What? And Maki's just so confused. What in the world is going on? And then another Company 8 member stands. Maki, this isn't the time to lie around. And as Obi, muscles rippling, raring to go, she just looks at him, Captain. And then Hinawa is also just down to his underwear. You're doing great, Tamaki. Get him. And Maki looks at him, even you, Lieutenant? I guess. And she then also joins in and strips. Tamaki, let's do this! And Tamaki just sort of turns back and looks at them and then sighs and smiles. The doppelganger goes on, you bastards! What have you done? The real assault counters, lewd is hope. It is beautiful and cool. Why do you deny it? And he hits him with Stiffy Bullet, which, God, what a fucking name. Hits the doppelganger full on in the chest. Knocks the wind right out of him. Assault goes on. Tamaki's lucky lecture is inevitable. It is no coincidence. And then Tamaki sort of jumps up with her fire cat and then smashes him right between her legs. Right into her crotch. Suffocating Assault. The doppelganger, I mean. And then she comes and spins up and sort of tackles him to the ground. I'm not quite sure how that, because her waist would have been on his face, and now she's kind of further back down. I'm not quite sure what move she pulled off there. Either way, she hits him with a full force something attack. The ground smashes. Tamaki sort of stands there, or not stand, but poses there in her cat form. Doppel Assault just sort of lies. We see him nose bleeding. Ooh. Sure. And he fades away. And that's how the fight ends. The crowd all goes wild. Tatato looks around. The atmosphere completely switched from an angry mob mood to a happy mood. And Victor looks around. It was Fire Soldier Tamaki that was the catalyst. She's the person in charge of the sex appeal of the world. Someone who can give hope to humanity. I'm going to talk more about this fight when I finish this chapter in full. I just want to finish this chapter to fully get all my thoughts in my mind for it before I really start. Assault then tells Tamaki, lechery is the hope that connects the world to the next generation. The future doesn't exist for humans with no lewdness. I mean, again, I see where you're going with all this. The whole, sex leads to reproduction. But I'm not quite sure it really tracks with Tamaki. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that Tamaki is 17 and she's the symbol of sex for the world. It's a weird choice. It's an uncomfortable choice. Assault tells her, Tamaki Kotatsu, we'll likely never meet again. And Tamaki tells him, thanks for coming. And he looks at her, goodbye. You were my first. And Tamaki just stares back. And then we see, Obi and Vulcan and Hinawa all in their, boxer briefs. Great job, Tamaki! And Tamaki sort of sighs. I see that nude firefighters are as popular as ever. And Maki tells her, enjoying exposure doesn't mean that people are being disrespectful. They just like each other's beautiful bodies. Nobody who likes the firefighters' nude calendar disrespects firefighters. And Victor, who's somehow immune from the stripping mob, just sort of comes up to her. You've endured well, Tamaki. And Tamaki just kind of brushes it off. I just didn't want to lose to weirdos who confound their hate with justice because they think they're in the majority. And then we see the crowd kind of throwing out their clothes and cheering, and Victor goes on, but look, that is a hope that you spurred on. The power of lewd never loses. With the hope brought on by this fight in your chest, walk towards a future full of vigor. To be continued chapter 283, Shadow of a Trump Card. Okay, so I'm going to bring up one of my thoughts in that, seeing that Reddit post before I read the chapter sort of made me think about is there was a comment on there that talked about how for all of the whole, this is, showing all of the rippling muscles of the men, specifically Obi and Hinawa and Vulcan, is kind of a equal opportunity sexuality thing. We only get to, we only see their, rippling muscles and not, if it's tied to the image of sex, we don't actually see we don't see their bulges or anything, is what the post brought up. And that's it's a fair point, is that the rippling muscles are less a sexual fantasy, and it comes across like a kind of male power fantasy masquerading as a sexual fantasy, and so that doesn't quite work out. There's also just some of this whole, I just didn't want to lose to weirdos who can found their hate with justice because they think they're in the majority. Kind of feels like Okubo attacking some kind of straw man. It just, I know some people really like this fight, and I am really not one of them. It just does not work for me on really any level. I don't know, it's just not something that quite works at all for me. I think there was a way of making this concept work, and I don't quite think we hit the mark here. I'm not quite sure. Well, if I were writing the story, I just would have never had this. But if I had to have this, I'm not quite sure how I would have kept this storyline in while making it work. But I don't know. Either way, the fight's over. We can stop talking about the power of lewdness ever again. Let's talk about 283, Shadow of the Trump Card. And I might actually be kind of wrong. I saw Trump Card, figure this would be Joker Burns. As Victor mentioned earlier, that Joker was off doing something, very clearly setting up his fight with the Burns doppelganger. But our cover image here has the O and the X for the eyes. That's Benimaru. The strongest laughs as he spreads despair. That's also Benimaru. Don't quite know what the Trump card has to do there. That the Trump card thing feels very, very Joker, but we'll see. Either way, we have our scan later page, our buy the manga page, and we open on to still more Tamaki, now just in her underwear. Assault's doppelganger is defeated. Now what this man sees is, and it's Juggernaut, and she kind of helps him up. A goddess? And she sort of pulls him upright. What are you talking about? Just get up. And Juggernaut notices her. Kotatsu, you came here for my sake. And then Juggernaut's sort of confused. He's just woken up. He's not quite sure what's going on right now. Huh? That's what you said, right? And Juggernaut finally kind of catches on. Yes, that's right. And Tamaki sort of goes a little tsundere there. That made me a bit happy. So I'm willing to go on a date with you. And Juggernaut is just sort of stunned. Huh? And Tamaki just slaps him. Stop saying ha to everything. How annoying. Sir, sorry. But he kind of brushes that off and just is all excited now. Nice. I got a date with Kotatsu. But then we see another fire. And Obi and Victor kind of watch it. There's still a large-scale fire going on in the Iria district. And Victor comments, it's probably another doppelganger that manifested along with Assault. Joker went that way to investigate, but if he has to go against a high-level doppelganger, I can only hope he's fine. So it is Joker. Is Joker going to be fighting... Joker and Benny have teamed up before, back in the church arc. Maybe they're going to tag team Benimaru's doppelganger? That'll be the only thing that can kind of give them an advantage against an even stronger version of Benimaru? Maybe? I don't know. Either way, we see the flaming card in the wall. We see a, puddle of blood, it looks like. I'm not quite sure the doppelgangers... Well, we know because we saw Assault bleed, the nose bleed. But that might just be not as, bleeding, but the symbol of sex bleeding, which is a weird kind of delineation to make. Or maybe they, because we saw Assault kind of burnt, fade to ash, right, when he died. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but Joker's there. Oh no, that is the Joker I thought Joker was going to fight Burns, but no. The one we saw standing was Joker's doppelganger. The blood comes from our Joker. My own doppelganger? And it kind of tries to, like, get up, and he goes for another attack. Why are you so damn strong? And the doppelganger counters so slow, and he kind of moves past Joker somehow, and turns around and just rips into him with the cards. And Joker is even more battered and bloodied. He hits the ground, covered in blood, and Joker's doppelganger looks at him. How pathetic, Mr. Real Deal. And Joker sort of sits up. So this is how people see me. What a damn nuisance. Do people think I'm some kind of monster or what? That's actually an interesting kind of question. Is it like, how well known is Joker? Like, I didn't think he was that big a play. Like, I mean, in the concept of the establishment, sure, he is a big player. But, like, the common people don't really know him. You know, he was still kind of a mystery when Company 8 first kind of discovered him back at the beginning of the series. And I don't really recall him doing any grand acts to get him on people's radar. Maybe it's just because he's such a main character, by establishment rules, he's able to sort of get a doppelganger. Either way, not really the fight I was expecting Joker to have, though. I don't know. Do people think I'm some kind of monster or what? And the doppelganger throws another card at Joker, or a bunch more cards at Joker, and they all slice into him. He is losing. He's getting his ass handed to him. And the doppelganger taunts him. You peeked into a dola with that eye, didn't you? Why resist, when you know that only despair is coming? And Joker kind of fights back. I'm a seeker. I have a duty to stay alive until the very end. And Joker gets back up. The doppelganger taunts. You're still standing, huh? That doesn't quite fit into the image that I had of myself. And Joker looks at him. It's not over yet. But he kind of notes to himself, what can I do? I can't raise my arm. But then a light kind of emerges from his empty socket, right? He doesn't even have an eye there anymore, right? The eye patch sort of glows. But that's sort of it. Because the doppelganger sort of mocks, looks like you're out of cards to play. And Joker, we see, is back on the ground, unable to move still. Are you shitting me? And the doppelganger taunts. Can't see any path to a comeback with that left eye, can you? That's right. You're going to die here. And someone lands behind Joker's doppelganger. I'm going to guess that's Burns. We see like a white cloak that could be Burns' like clerical robes. But Joker tells him, there's no way I can win against two of you. I give up. Yep, that's Burns. Not even like a face though. Like what we've seen of Burns' doppelganger in the past remains true. So I was kind of right in the end. In the end, it was Burns and Joker. Just Burns and Joker and Joker. And yeah, Burns sort of looms over Joker. Joker just sort of stares up at him. Burns. And the Burns doppelganger sort of stares down at him. One thing I haven't really taken the time to address, which I kind of have to now that doppelgangers are becoming a more and more present aspect of the narrative, is why does Burns' doppelganger look like that? Like, no matter how different the doppelgangers have been from the real person, they still look like the real person. Except I think for, like, Conroe's didn't. I think. But, like, why are some of them humanoid and why is Burns' not? Is sort of the question I have to ask. I don't know. Burns sort of stares down at him, and Joker tells him, I've been peeking into a dola this whole time through your eye. But it never suited me to have only one eye. We needed to be together to have the complete set. In the end, it was good to be able to see you. Being killed by you is the best I could ask for in the middle of this disgrace. Do it. And Joker's like grinning at the end. Burns raises his hand to deal the finishing blow. I think Benny's going to show up right now. No! Burns' doppelganger kills Joker's doppelganger. Oh, because Burns, until the very end, was seen as this, bastion of goodness. His doppelganger, meshed with the concept. Or let me put this together. Let me put my thoughts together. Burns, as he's sort of this, he's seen through the public as a defender of humanity. no matter the complicated allegiances the real Burns had near the end, this Burns is pure good in a shocking twist of fate, I think. That's my guess. Because he just cuts through Joker's doppelganger, shocking both Jokers. The doppelganger can only kind of stare in shock as he dies. Why? Don't tell me you're... And Burns tells him, did you think I was a doppelganger? And then blows up Joker, or the doppelganger Joker, who grins as he dies. I love also the image of the 4 suits of cards appearing in the explosion. But hold on, does that mean this is the real Burns? Did you think I was a doppelganger? What? And then Joker looks at him. You killed a doppelganger. Burns, could you be the real Burns? And Burns looks down at him. We haven't met since Fuchu, 5-2. In that fight, I was pulled into a dola by my doppelganger, but I kept my sense of self as I merged with my image in a dola. Okay. Right, so because at the end of when Burns died, at the end of the Obi rescue arc, it was he had sort of accepted that he had backed the wrong horse by the White Clads, that he was glad that Shinra beat him, and now that he's back, he's now on our side. And he won. He won the fight with his doppelganger, and he became the doppelganger real hybrid thing. Fucking hell! You gotta love Burns there. And Joker just looks at him. Damn, you're one stubborn old man. And Burns tells him, 5-2. A dola is made of the images of humans. The identity of the Evangelist is... And Joker cuts him off. Don't do that, Joker. Joker, let us have the answer. What? Is the Evangelist Okubo? That's what I want to know. But Joker cuts him off. I know. I've peeked into a dola through your eye. I've also seen powerful doppelgangers being born. There's still 2 left of the doppelgangers that the Great Cataclysm called. One of those is Benny. I don't know who the other is going to be. And Burns comments, yes, and they're powerful. We must stop them. And that's really all we get of that. We don't quite know who the second of the other doppelgangers are. And we cut to Kurono and Oguro and Nataku. Oguro tells Kurono, you're to cooperate with the Fire Force and go get rid of the doppelganger in the Iria district. And Kurono tells him, but they're bound to be strong. But Oguro just counters, and if our company vanishes along with the world, will you have anywhere to go? Nataku tells him, do your best, Mr. Kurono. And Kurono just kind of stares for a second and looks up toward the fire, but then someone appears behind him. He turns back to look, and there's Benny. The strongest arrives. To be continued up to 284, strongest versus craziest. Okay, let's talk about this chapter now. I already said everything I really have to say about 282, so I'm not gonna go back to that one. Let's focus on 283. I enjoyed this chapter a whole lot more. It's nice to see Joker again. Joker's a great character, and I wish we had more of him, but his status as an anti-hero means that we can only sometimes see him. And it's great. He's completely outmatched by his doppelganger, unfortunately. I'm kind of curious why do people see Joker as such a big... okay, my question is people see Joker as a big threat a meta thing, or is that an in-universe thing? So I'm not quite sure people in-universe really know Joker to that degree. I don't know. It's all interesting. Though I'm not quite sure it matters, because the Joker doppelganger is super dead, and Burns is back. He has become one with his doppelganger, and is just sort of alive again, which, good for him. I'm honestly really happy for him. Also, his whole, Chernobog look, I kind of was why does he look like that? But it's cool as hell. That's why he looks like that, because it's cool as fuck. I'm more than down for that. Either way, we also learned that Joker and Burns know the identity of the Evangelist, which is news to me. I really wish we could have found out who it was, but that would have kind of taken away from some big twist that we're going to get whenever Shinra finally gets up there. We also learned there are only 2 doppelgangers left, which I think meshes with the 7 we saw flying down after Fairy Suicide. I think that would be, Kurono, Assault, Joker, Burns, Benny, the other one, and then there might be one other that I've forgotten. No, I think we've only met, that would only count up to 6 then, I think. I think it's only been, Kurono, and then Assault, and then Burns and Joker, Benny, Mystery Guy. So I don't know. I don't know who that's going to be. Maybe it's Arthur. Maybe it's Dragon. If it's Dragon, that'd be really fucked. After everything Arthur did to take him down. But yeah, we're once again sort of nearing the end. After this, it's, what's left after these 2 doppelganger fights is Haumea and Sumire and maybe Inca, depending on where she kind of ends up as everything sort of shakes out. And then the Evangelist. So again, Fire Force is very much nearing its end. And we're seeing that again as we're sort of reminded how few foes are left. There's 2 doppelgangers. And then we move into, I guess, final round, real climactic territory here. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's... The Joker stuff ends up not really being a Joker fight like I was expecting. It ends up being a reintroduction to the real Burns, who is still alive inside his doppelganger, and sort of set up for the next part of the arc. This bit about 2 more doppelgangers, leading to Kurono versus Benny. Not what I was expecting, but strongest versus craziest implies that, at least for 1 chapter, it'll be all Kurono and Benny doppelganger. The real Benny will probably show up at some point, but not yet. Also, I want to say how much I fucking love Benny's doppelganger design. I talked about most of the doppelgangers looking basically human. Benny looks like some kind of scarecrow, almost. The way his face is so flat, besides, the mouth and then the eyes, he looks far less human than anything. It's this really cool Uncanny Valley effect. I really love it. But yeah. Yeah, I love this second chapter. The first one, I mean, I knew that going in, I wasn't really going to be a fan of it, but I still wasn't a fan of it. But yeah, now we got Benny and Kurono, and maybe the real Benny showing up, hopefully soon, because I love him and I miss him. And then, I don't know, so I think what this last scene confirms, though, is that fire in the Iria district is something completely unrelated to Benny. Maybe it's what was going on with Joker, and Oguro didn't quite realize that fight was over by the time he told Kurono to go deal with it. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Either way, the Iria district might be our next stop once the Benny fight is over, and however long that takes. Most of these doppelganger fights have been 4 or 5 chapters. Then maybe the dragon fight was a dozen. So I don't really know how long this is going to last. But I'm down for it. Benny and Doppelganger Benny, and it's going to be wild. And we have Kurono in there just to make things even more fucking complicated. It's going to be a fucking blast, and I can't wait for that. So, yeah, I'm going to leave this video off here. If you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself, if you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. Or, do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!